What if we just stop calling anxiety a disorder? What if we stop referring to it as a condition that we can be afflicted with? What if we decided to stop categorizing anxiety as a mental health issue? Would that be a bad thing? So let's start this video somewhere interesting. Anxiety is not a disorder. And if that comment instantly has you shouting at the screen or race into the comments section, then that's totally okay. You're technically speaking absolutely correct to disagree with me on this. But what say we do a thought experiment here and decide to just, for the next 10 minutes or so, change the way we think about anxiety, and perhaps more importantly, how we label it. Because if there's one thing I've learned over the last 15 years or so, one of the biggest reasons why so many people struggle with anxiety is because they're told they have to. Now, if this is your first time here, then hi, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach and anxiety specialist, and every day I work one-to-one with people to help them get control of their anxiety response and develop a better relationship with their own mind. You might have seen my TEDx talk. It's how most people find me on YouTube. The other day, I had a client tell me all about their journey with their own anxiety. It kind of started the way many of these stories do, with a certain aspect of their life becoming overwhelming and causing high levels of stress and anxiety. Then they went to the doctor for help, got referred to a mental health professional, and at some point got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Then the client said something I've heard many times. They said, I wish I'd never been told that, because for the last 10 years, I'm certain that's been the main cause of my anxiety. And so often, this is the problem. There are many things in life that might cause us to feel anxious, but in the vast majority of cases, pathologizing that understandable and natural emotional response just gives us something far more menacing to feel anxious about: our own mental health. It turns out the moment we start regarding feeling anxious as meaning there's something wrong with us, something disordered, that's when the real problems start. Now, please don't mistake this perspective as me dismissing or invalidating the pain we go through when we feel our anxiety has become debilitating and all-consuming. I'm not denying that people suffer. I've suffered myself. The reason, historically speaking, we started to recognize anxiety issues as worthy of classification is because there was too much dismissal of our emotional well-being and the impact it can have on our life. But calling it a disorder sends the message that something is broken, when in fact the anxiety response is one of the most natural and essential human functions we have. It's not a malfunction, it's just overactive. And often it's misunderstood. Because, and let's be clear here, to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, there is no blood test, no brain scan, no medical imaging to identify and prove the condition. The diagnosis is based on your description of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and whether they meet the designated current criteria in the latest version of a book written by a committee. And the problem with that is our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors change all the time. They're supposed to change. That's how emotions work. So if we're getting a diagnosis based on a transient state, is that really worthy of a label that we will then have to bear for an undetermined period of time? Is it really in our best interest to now carry that weight and to experience all the extended fears that come with a mental health diagnosis? As soon as we label ourselves with a disorder, we unfortunately create an identity for ourselves. I have anxiety. My anxiety limits me. I can't do that because of my disorder. We start seeing ourselves through that lens, and that lens can quickly become a prison. Because if anxiety is a disorder, then I must be ill. And if I'm ill, then I need fixing. And if I find I can't fix it, then I must be broken. And if I'm broken, what's the point? Fears can escalate pretty quickly when we start to question our own state of mind. And it's not long before we find ourselves pondering if we'll ever get the other side of this, or if this will just keep getting worse until we have a complete mental breakdown. I actually made a video about these exact fears and concerns a month or two ago, and I'll link to that in the description of this one. But as I said at the start of this video, what if we just treated anxiety not as an illness or a disorder, but simply as an emotion? Anxiety is our mind's way of steering our attention towards whatever is deemed to be important right now. If the important thing contains some perceived level of threat, either to our safety or our happiness, then it might well become fear. And the addition of fear is when the physical stuff kicks in. Fight or flight, tight chest, racing heart, dizzy spells, nausea, all of that stuff. And yes, those sensations can feel really unpleasant. but they're not dangerous. They're not a malfunction. They're not the sign of something being broken. They're just the healthy and appropriate result of your mind trying to protect you from threat. This is why labeling anxious thoughts and sensations as maladaptive or disordered just adds to that experience, because they just increase the perception of threat. But that response isn't a result of mental illness. It's a result of confusion. Your mind has become confused about what is and isn't a threat. And the good news is, confusion can be cleared up. What if, instead of thinking of anxiety as a diagnosis or an illness, we saw it for what it is, a natural response that's currently just pointing in the wrong direction? Imagine a fire alarm going off as if the building is on fire when all you've done is just burnt some toast. The alarm isn't broken. If anything, it's doing its job a bit too well. Same with your anxiety. You're not broken, you don't need to be fixed. You just need to educate your mind that you're not in danger, and that being anxious doesn't mean something's wrong. Now, I'm not saying anxiety disorders don't exist, and I'm not saying a diagnosis is never of any value. For some, having a name and a label for what is going on with them can be the first step towards getting the help they need. But it's how we interpret that label that matters. If the diagnosis empowers you to take action and feel less alone, great. But if it becomes something you wear like a weight around your neck, then it might be time to reframe the way you're thinking about it. Because in my experience, anxiety issues are not signs of disorder. They're signs that something in your life, or the way you're thinking about your life, needs attention. So, do I believe anxiety is a disorder? Technically, it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what you believe, because your beliefs will dictate your reality. But one thing I can tell you is that in essence, anxiety is an emotion, one that's become tangled up in misunderstanding and fear. And once we start seeing it as a part of us, not a separate enemy, we get to work with it rather than against it. And that's when everything starts to change. So what do you think? Want to tell me I'm wrong? Want to share your story? Let me know in the comments and let's talk. If this video has helped you see anxiety in a different light and you want more support on your journey, make sure you check out the members area. There you'll get access to my full anxiety recovery program, my control system for retraining your thought patterns, and weekly live Q&As where you can ask me your questions directly. Just hit the join button on the homepage or click the link in the description. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need it. Don't forget to subscribe for more weekly videos just like this. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.